think now we're recording. And again, guys, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the guys at home um, over YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you guys are watching the video. But anyway, we're talked way too much. Let's get into EastWest Opus. Um, and let's figure out in what kind of trouble we can get ourselves into. Let me make sure that this mic has enough boost. Uh, you guys let me know if the mic is too hot or too quiet, and we'll fix it accordingly if it you know if it works. Hopefully you hear that. Yes, I think you guys can. Fantastic. All right. So let's go. I'm gonna go into my extra tracks because I don't want to mess up um, any of my actually functioning presets right here that I have. So let's go and figure out. I'm gonna augment my sensitivity to my mouse real quick. Let's go and talk a little bit about the Opus interface. And ooh, okay, right off the bat. So I'm gonna say this. Admittedly, I did mess around with Opus a couple times today. I had about an hour and a half free, and I was just like messing around with it. Um, and I have to say that there are some things about this library that I love, and some things that I cannot possibly imagine. Who would have Who would have thought this through and thought that it was okay? I know this is kind of a mean comment, but the way I feel about this library, um, I there are things that I absolutely love about it, and things that are actually worse than play, the previous actual version. Let's go through them real quickly. I think there's a lot to unpack here. Um, the first thing, actually, that I've noticed is this resizable interface. Now, this is cool. However, for libraries that are in the Opus version, so for instance, I have the Hollywood Orchestra, which is what I use uh, sometimes, but the new ones that they just made, so they have the new interfaces and the new scriptings and blah 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 blah. If I go to the Hollywood Strings Gold, for instance, let's go to the first violins. I think this is meant to be the Divisi, what it used to be the Divisi, because 18 violins sounds kind of like it's both the first and second violins together. All right, so they shrunk down the amounts of, right off the bat, I can see they shrunk down the amounts of patches available. What I can do actually, guys, to make it better, is I can go to the ultra wide mixer right here. I think this might be more legible for you. I don't know. Hopefully it is. You guys let me know if it's not. Um, so we have right off the bat. I'm gonna lower this down a little bit because I'm turning my head. Um, we have a little less patches. I think, is it less patches? It might be. Let me see. Do I have the Hollywood strings? Oh, it's the same. Okay, I see. It condenses some of the patches. Okay, it renames them too a little bit, or at least renames the sections. So let's go on to the legato. My favorite one is the legato slur and portamento. Oh yes, yes. I'm glad I came across this. Okay, so in the case of long notes and long patches and articulation, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever to have the preview function. But when you're browsing libraries like, for instance, Raw or Silk, all of a sudden the preview function is extremely helpful. It saves a lot of time. And I can show that right now. If I go to Goliath and I go to Ethnic Picked, yeah, this is a time saver right here. That's great. This is one of the things that I absolutely love about the new library. The other thing that I love about Opus, it's definitely the favorite function. The one you can star them and favorite them. Very good. Very good. Let's go back to our violins. Let's go the route. So we got our purge options right here. We can purge them right from the interface, which is actually incredibly a massive step forward compared to Play, because Play you had to go in here, or rather in here, go to purge down here, and purge all the samples. It was a pain, an absolute pain in the ass to do it with the Play engine. However, with this we have it right here. So this has taken inspiration from Contact, and I am very glad. And in fact, it took it a step further than Contact did, because Contact you have to double click. Everyone knows how to do it in Contact, but just to show the contrast here, you load a patch, whatever patch it is. Right here, you load a patch, and then there's an arrow, there's a drop down menu, and then you have the purge options. So I would say for Contact 7, when that comes out, it would be a very cool idea, Native Instrument, to have a purge option like our friend right here, right on the interface. That is very good. Good job, EastWest. Very much deserved praise right there. Very, very useful. Other things we have on this library are the outputs and the MIDI. Of course, those are very very useful stuff to have. We got what is this? Oh, this is the panning and mute and solo. I mean, all that stuff. I think this is disable. Yes, that's a disable function right there. I think they did that to help the people that are running Vienna Ensemble Pro. So you actually can deactivate directly from the interface. So that's kind of a cool addition as well. We can shrink the image. This took inspiration from Vienna Ensemble Pro as well. You can close and close all. You can just close the selected. If I have a second patch here, add instrument. If I have a second patch, I can select the different patches and close the second one. Extremely self-explanatory situation here. All right, so this is very neat. What do we have here? We have okay, so let's go into the Play, the actual meat and potato of this library. Now, what I'm noticing here is this. Now, this is a major plus in my book. Resizable, real-time resizable UI. Very good. Very, very good. But unfortunately, let's see. Where are we? All right, there. Okay, so is it too loud, guys? I think, is it a little too loud? Let me know in chat, by the way. So, one thing that I have noticed right away today is a major drawback right now for this library that they need to address right away, because this is so here. I'll show you what I mean. Well, I haven't even told you what I mean at all, but I feel like I need to draw the comparisons here to really drive the point. So I'm gonna open an instance of Play, and I'm gonna open all of the strings. I'm gonna go to first strings, and I'm gonna go to legato and portamento. Sorry, I'll move over here. And I am going to do, see all these patch lists right here, this is all useless. Play had this and it was all useless. And I'm glad they got rid of it. I am so glad they got rid of this mess, because I only use this one. I'll only ever use that one. Because, I mean, it sounds nice and it's got all the controls. Now, here's what you can do. What am I looking at? Yeah, there it is. Here's what you can do with play. With these samples, I am playing with right here, as you can see in my cam up there. You can see that I am playing with this fader right here. That fader is CC1. That is the equivalent of this one, the mod wheel down on the keyboard. I'm gonna show you guys, make it so you can see a little better. There you go. So it's the equivalent of the mod wheel for those that don't know. So I'm playing with that, and I have the dynamic. Okay, so I have the pianissimo, and I have the fortissimo. Okay, now that in my workflow, and I am willing to bet that in most composers that make orchestral music, most composers' workflow, this is very much the way a lot of us work. I'm willing to bet that for a lot of people, MIDI CC1, it has become the staple for the way you do mockups and the way you actually program in your parts and your instrumentation, your orchestration. So when I do this, you have this beautiful, dynamic performance, right? Beautiful. I don't know about beautiful, but you get what I'm saying. Let's move to Opus. Moving to Opus, this becomes the new norm. So CC1, all of a sudden, it's not controlling dynamics anymore. It's controlling vibrato, which makes absolutely no sense. I know some libraries do have the mod wheel controlling the vibrato. There are some patches set up in a way where the CC1 controls the vibrato. I know of no one and again, I say this again, I know of no one that uses CC1 for vibrato. And if we find a library that somehow has CC1 for vibrato, we change it. Now, I'm sure there are some people out there that use mod wheel for vibrato. I'm sure there are. I just haven't met many of them. And I think that one thing that can be said about the vast majority of libraries out there is that they gave us sort of this like the norm that we are used to right now with most of the libraries and most of the developers out there, is that the CC1 is the dynamic fader or dynamic MIDI controller. But Opus does this. Opus says, we are going to do away with the dynamics control. What's up, Ten? Kun? How you doing, man? Thanks for dropping by. Now, all of a sudden, Opus says, no, we're going to do away with the dynamics fader altogether. We don't need that. We have CC11 that takes care of the dynamics. And the problem with that is that it doesn't take care of the dynamics, because CC11, it's a volume fader. It's not a dynamic fader. And everyone knows this, by the way. I know I sound very condescending when I say that way. But like, everyone knows this, EastWest. Everyone knows that CC11 is the expression fader. This guy right here, I have it mapped to the second one because I use it all the time. But I use it to give further power to the CC1 in those instances where the library, when you turn down CC1, doesn't go to niente, but it only goes to like pianissimo. So in those moments, then having a CC11 fader makes it so you can go down together. If you're watching that cam, you can go down together and do a fade to niente, which means, in musical terms, it means fade to nothing. Instead of going down to pianissimo, it goes down to silence. And so that's what the CC11 is for. It's to help in those cases where your dynamic fader, it's not going where you need it to go, all the way down. So now all of a sudden what Opus is doing, it's making me use CC11 for this, which is not a big deal in and of itself. If it wasn't for the fact that this is not addressing pianissimos and fortissimos, where those samples go? Where did they go? Because if you listen carefully, I am like at 6-7% here of my fader, right here. You can see this. This is not pianissimo. It's just turned down. The volume is turned down, but it's not pianissimo. This is forte, that it's playing at a lower volume. And it becomes even more apparent when you go up a little bit. It's the same dynamic. It's the same exact dynamic layer. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe like in the back end of the software you can actually prove to me that, because I heard that there are 3 dynamic layers in this library, and maybe I am wrong, but you cannot remove the dynamic CC1 on a string legato patch, which is literally the patch that most of us use with the CC1 and CC11 combination, and with the vibrato fader, which I have mapped to CC2 usually. I have it right here on the 3rd fader. That's CC2 for me. And like, these are my go-to faders for most of my mock-up work. All of a sudden, this is all thrown away, out of the window. I don't have that muscle memory now to figure out that now CC1, my index finger, is all of a sudden figuring out the vibration of, when you're playing the vibration of the strings, and my CC11 is all of a sudden my dynamic. Now, Opus makes this very easy, because Opus does something that not a lot of libraries do in terms of how quickly this can be done. You can go here, you can do 2, and expression, you can do 1. Okay? Now I just changed the mapping of that. So all of a sudden now I have my CC11 here. And then I have my vibrato here. Now this is very clever, because if you play both of them together, it gives you the illusion that it's changing dynamic layers. Because in Tekken, is Opus softer? Sorry, I'm new here. Yes, Opus is are you asking if Opus is a softer, or if we are in the Opus softer? What's your question exactly? Because I guess yes to both. The answer is yes to both. Opus is a softer, and we are in the Opus softer right now. Like this guy right here, it's the Opus softer. Anyway, what was I? Oh, yes. So it gives you the illusion of changing dynamic layers, which is very clever, because when you hear a violin playing live, usually what the players will do is that at low dynamics, they won't use a lot of vibrato in their left hands playing on the string. They will do a very, soft, and then when they start digging into the string, then they start giving that beautiful, almost sort of I guess Spitfire calls it Rachmaninoff vibrato, which is kind of funny. But so okay, Tekken says, okay, I didn't know if it if it was one of the hardware you have on your desk. Oh, yes. No, 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 no. This one is just this guy is just a means to an end. This doesn't do anything. This just sends information to the computer, and then the computer takes that information and activates stuff on here. If that makes any sense whatsoever. I don't know explain that uh, at all. Anyway, I think I've made my point. I think I'm beating a dead horse at this point. I want, in order for me, to want to use a library, a patch, or specific instrument, especially if we're talking about strings libraries, brass libraries, woodwind libraries, I need to have that CC1, and I need to know that that is changing actual recorded samples of pianissimos, mezzo fortes, and fortissimos. Like, at least give me that option, because this is the same exact dynamic layer. Like, this is just a volume knob. In fact, what we can do, I think I can test it out. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm very wrong about this, but let's test it out, because we have a secondary way of turning on the volume usually on things. Okay, so we have the CC7. I think it's 7 or 9, either 9 or 7. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's 7. But CC7 is the MIDI general control that operates the actual volume of the MIDI signal. As opposed to I cannot tell the difference. Maybe you guys can. I cannot tell the difference. I think I'm convinced that this is the same sample, and there is absolutely no switch of dynamics, which is I cannot think of a single reason why this could be appropriate to put into a new software. I can't think of any. I mean, there's gotta be a reason. I just can't see it at the moment. But the fact that we don't have CC1 anywhere near the spectrum here, like there's in the list, there's nothing in the list. Even if we go into the MIDI tools here, no, sorry, what is it? Automation. There it is. Even in the automation, which gives you sort of like the breakdown of where everything is, what every parameter is attached to whatever controller, which is basically a more fancy UI of this. But there is nothing that says dynamics, because if we go back into play, we have the dynamics here. Not that they show them, they don't show them, but we definitely have them, because you can actually actuate them. You can work the CC1, the mod wheel, and it will actually change the dynamics. So if I go down to this track, I feel, and maybe it's like maybe like I'm a victim of cognitive dissonance right here, cognitive bias right here, but I can tell that this is actually actuating different samples. but maybe it's just because I want to see this. I don't know. I don't know. I don't necessarily want for Opus to be crap. I genuinely can't can't tell the difference on the Opus one. Let's go back to that, and maybe there is other patches. Maybe if we go to the violin one, because I didn't try those, so maybe I am just being an idiot and I'm not looking at it the right way. Right? Let's load up a sus. Let's load up just a sus. No, it's the same thing. Oh, sorry, I'm still on the play. There it is. Raise the volume a little bit. I'm really trying to pay attention to how the dynamics move. Um, the samples, and don't get me wrong, the samples sound really great. Like the instrument sounds good. I mean, I still use EastWest stuff layered below the usually either Cena strings or Spitfire symphonic strings, and I still use the brass as well. They sound awesome. It's just this. It's definitely not a welcome change in my book. The fact that they removed the CC1 and all of a sudden CC1 means vibrato. And don't get me wrong, there are some patches in the Play Engine version of Hollywood strings or brass that, especially strings, is strings usually the one that can have a control of the vibrato, not brass. I mean, generally. There are some patches in the Hollywood string on Play that do feature CC1 as the vibrato. There is such a thing. I'm not saying that this is out of the blue. But why would you not put CC1 as the dynamic change controller, where 99% of the market out there of sample libraries developers use CC1 as dynamics? If the idea was to get this flawless sort of smooth transition from the Play Engine to Opus, which I am pretty sure somewhere along the way in their board meetings up there at EastWest, they must have thought like, hey, we want people to switch over from Play to Opus as smoothly as possible. Well, this is not the way you do it. Because if I had a cello part that was using CC1 for the dynamics change, all of a sudden now you made it on CC11, I have to go into the editor, copy and paste that to a different lane. That takes time, especially if you have a big project that all of a sudden now you have to convert to Opus. It's not a smooth transition by any stretch of the imagination. Is it gonna force you to break deadlines? Probably not. But why would you make the life complicated? This is like you trying to make your life more complicated for absolutely no reason. There was absolutely no reason to move the dynamic to CC11. Zero that I can see. And I'm probably short-sighted about this. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on because I feel like we're in a rut on this. I really don't like this. This is a major, major minus for me. And the reason why it's a major minus for me, it's because now all of a sudden I have to adapt to new muscle memory and I have to remap every patch that I pull up. And yeah, no, I'm almost tempted to just open Play Engine for it. And yeah, we're going to get to better stuff. Don't you worry. Okay, so we got that. So on the interface, we have the usual suspect. They didn't do much in terms of, they didn't do a lot of changing. The basics of the interface are essentially essentially the same. We have the centerpiece here that it's now, instead of this ugly thing right here, it's a beautiful, Hollywood string image. It's kind of nice, and you can even change the color of it. You can go soft, and it becomes this nice blue, and then you go epic, which is like this mighty red. In terms of sounds, doesn't do absolutely anything, I promise. Oh, actually, it does. It's DQ. I'm wrong. There you go. I've been proven wrong on that one. So this is a more soft EQ. The classic, it's a little harsher. More mids. And then the epic, it's a little brighter, designed to sort of cut through the mix a little more. Okay, that I can stand by that. That's fine. That's fine. The performance. Okay, so this is forcing portamento. And this is along the time of the travel time. Okay, yeah, that's I can see that. That's kind of useful. We got a forced legato. Okay, this is more of a scripted legato, yes. Repetition. Interesting. Then we got finger position. So I'm assuming that's like at what point of the fretboard and at what string they are playing the thing, or maybe it's like what finger they're I'm not entirely sure about that one. Don't quote me on it, but it sounds like the sound does change. Do I see this feature being used in mockups? Probably not, because if you deal with a real orchestra, you're probably going to do the mockup, translate it to score, to sheet music, and then have the actual orchestra play it and record it. And they know their finger positions. You don't have to tell them usually. You don't have to tell the first violin, hey, can you do that? That's actually in third position. Like, it's like, dude, let me do my job. But maybe there is like a specific reason. Sometimes the composer goes like, hey, I know this is kind of weird, but like, could you do that in third position? That note. But again, at that time, why would you put it into a software? I mean, I don't see that. This is like having 16 mic positions. It doesn't do anything. I don't think it matters in the great, like, I don't. I just, that's my personal take on it. Definitely, it doesn't have to be everyone's opinion. Um, but I get it. It's the content, it just adds to the flavor of the package. You get this nice, cool ability to control your instruments a little further, and yeah, I mean, why not? We got a stereo doubler, which is kind of cool, and it was also featured into the right here, into the Play engine. We have the stereo doubler right here. We have they got rid of this little creepy thing, the meaty whatever this is. Control, I guess. Like, you can control like these various media input stuff. The sensitivity doesn't do anything. Wait, hold on. Very cool, very cool. And so you got a stereo doubler right here, which is, I'm assuming it works very much the same way. I'm not hearing the difference. Why am I not? I mean, it's like very, very mild difference. Very mild difference. We got a tune which was also featured. Oh, sorry, I was on the wrong thing. So we got a tune right here. So they moved it. They made it a little better looking. We got an Octaver knob. How do I center it? Oh, there it is. Alt. You center with Alt. And we got the stereo, mono left, mono right, swap left and right. So this is just inverting phase. Yeah, pretty cool. Okay, and then we got a reverb situation here, which earned a couple of more knobs. We actually have I'm looking at as a comparison right here. On the play engine, we have a on and off button, of course. We got a prelay knob, we got a volume knob, and then a master knob right here. Yeah, I mean, this is basically saying that all the instruments here, I think, it will be affected by the same reverb. But if we move over to the Opus, we gained a couple. We have a low cut and a high cut filter as a tail. This volume knob here, it's really shouldn't be called volume, but it should be called mix, I guess, because this is just how wet or dry the reverb is. And of course, it gets louder because you're adding to the signal. It's not that like you're turning up the volume. It's like you're adding the reverb to the signal, to already hot signal, and you're adding headroom, or removing headroom, I guess I should say. We got a master as well. So we got these two more knobs, and then we got a microphone positions. I have the standard gold edition, so I don't have the far and mid, and surround mic positions. I don't need them. I don't care for them. So I got the one loaded, they call it loaded mic position with a panner and all that. So that's basically what you find in the player, into the player interface. And then you got the MIDI tools. This one, it's for other purposes. I think it's more for the Orchestrator, which we're going to look at in a second. And then automation is, of course, how you map your MIDI inputs and outputs, and how you automate individual parameters of your instrument. In this case, we got volume and active doubler. If you want to activate the doubler or deactivate the doubler, the spread, the duration, blah 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 blah. All the balance, the mute and solo buttons. You can link these to anything. Anyway, so that's cool. We got the browser function right here. We got the play function right here. We got the perform function right here. This is where you choose the split. I think you can split the keyboard in various things, various parts of the keyboards and stuff. So that's kind of nice. And then you got the mixer portion of everything, and you even have a basic a basic sort of channel strip that comes with it, so it's kind of cute. You got some channel equalizer right here, which is kind of cool. You can choose to show or hide the mixer section right here. There's tabs. You can have the tabs, which is kind of neat. I mean, it's not bad. You can choose effects now. It comes with effects right here. So I have a EQ right there. It kind of came by default. And then you have dynamics and all that. So for instance, if I'm going to load a limiting amp, all that. It just acts like an amplifier. Okay, cool. Very neat. I mean, nothing groundbreaking. This is kind of cool quality of life sort of stuff that you have. In the 3 here, you can add effects channel, store mix. You can save your mix rack, I guess. Is that right? You can store it. Yes, you can store it. You can see here. You can save it with your name and blah blah blah. Very very cool. I'm assuming that once you save one, then you have a restore mix function right here, or a load mix function that allows you to load that mix rack back into your rack section. Now, one thing that I have to say that I was gonna say earlier, but then I kind of lost track of that, is the resize function. While it is beautiful, this is great. However, it doesn't work with anything else other than this. In fact, as you saw before, if I want to try to make this bigger, it's not making it bigger. It's just making bigger the window that I'm in. And for instance, if I want to load a different library, so let's say I'm going to load raw here just because, no particular reason. I like Duduk. Where's the Duduk? Nowhere in yeah, Middle East. There it is. Let's say I want to load this one. Still one of the best Duduk sounds out there. Absolutely usable everywhere. That's great. Okay, so that does it. Very good. I'm very happy about that. That does it. Cool. Very, very cool. I'm happy that's the case. For, let's see, what was it? The Woodwinds that I was trying earlier. There was something that I was trying earlier that it wasn't. That wasn't. So, oh yeah, I guess I would love for these to kind of enlarge. I work in a very high resolution monitors. I got, this is, the main one is 4K. The mixing window is, widescreen, 3440 by 1440p, so it's pretty tight. And then the top monitor up there is 4K as well. So I would love a way for me to zoom into words and things. It's just a quality of life thing, just not to strain my eyes too much. So this doesn't do it. But if I go into the play window, of course this does it, because it's the new thing. So that works very well. Excuse me. That works very well. That's nice. That's a major plus for me. Resizing, real-time resizing. What was that? Oh, was that a bassoon or a clarinet? Oh, the one that I'm playing right now, that's a clarinet. That's two clarinets, actually. Okay, other gripe that I have with this. What the heck is this? Yeah, not not the smoothest of transition there. But I mean, this actually does change layers. You can tell that it's changing dynamic layers with CC11. Awesome. Very good. Why does it have to be CC11 though? That's the problem. That's what I don't understand. It's beyond me. It's beyond me. Nice. I'm trying to learn to play. Cool, dude. That's very nice. That's very nice. I wish I could play clarinet, man. It's a beautiful instrument. I absolutely love clarinets. Um, it's warm. It's got crazy extended octaves. Like, it's got a pretty big range for a reed instrument. Actually, most reed instruments have a pretty big pretty big octave range. The bassoon plays very high. Oboe doesn't really play much because I think that's single reed. But I think is a clarinet a double reed or something? I don't know if that matters at all. But anyway, I'm not an expert on woodwinds in general. I like them. I like the clarinet for sure. Um, okay, so that's one thing. So resizable stuff is great. Now let's move on to the orchestrator, which I feel like it's the sort of this thing that's being announced, has been hyped, and yeah, let's look at what we're talking about with Orchestrator. Now, you have to launch it like that. Now, this is what I was talking about. Why couldn't you make the Orchestrator window expand with the UI. That makes absolutely no sense to me. So this is a waste of time right here, and I'm sure maybe they will fix it later with the patch. I don't know if that's even possible, but like this is no bueno right here. This is no bueno. This is the only gripe I have with the zooming function so far. This is absolutely nonsense. Anyway, so let's get over ourselves here. And what is Tenkun says? No, the bassoon is a double reed. Absolutely. Okay, cool. Cool. That's, you learn new things every day. All right, so the Orchestrator, Hollywood Orchestrator, it's kind of a neat idea. Yeah, the resize does seem annoying. It really is. It really is, because especially because you got used to what they did to you. It's like they teased you and they spoiled you with like the previous interface that you can resize however you want, and all of a sudden I just like, psych. Just pulled a major psych on you. Like, this one is a pain. This one is a pain, and I don't know why. Maybe because they have to keep these things in place for whatever reason. I mean, maybe I don't know, but I feel like they would still be in place. Like, the ratio where they are located would still be in place. It's just zooms. I don't know. Okay, let's look at this interface real quick. So we got the main interface, which contains the various sections: woodwinds, brass, percussion, and strings, of course. And then you got the mixer section, where you can mix the various main areas. So you're mixing the instruments inside every tab. So inside the woodwinds, you're mixing these four, or whatever, how many there are in there. There's a bypass function there, which I'm not sure why we need that, but okay, let's pretend we do. All right, and maybe I'll see you later why. I don't know. Okay, so let's look at the presets, because it comes with a bunch of presets, and we have 4 categories. We have ensembles, ostinatos, scores, and user, which is probably things that you can do yourself. You can assemble instruments together and create your own sort of patterns and things, and you can store them in this neat little section right here, which is kind of a cool concept that gives you the ability to do that. For those that are going to use this tool on a day in, day out basis, makes perfect sense. Absolutely makes perfect sense. Let's look at the ensembles. We got the string longs ensembles. And eventually, I would love if the preview function that you have when you click on an instrument would translate into Orchestrator as well eventually one day, so that we don't have to like load these massive multis into RAM in order for us to enjoy them. Now, the thing that pisses me off before I even put my hands on this is that the CC1 works on this. EastWest, what happened? What happened in your board meetings? What happened? Somebody in that board meeting of yours, somebody stood up and said, let's remove CC1 from the instruments that matter the most, and let's be happy about it. And all of you were there thinking, yeah, it's kind of good. And then turn around and put CC1 back into action in the orchestra. What's explained? Somebody from EastWest, please explain this to me, because I don't see how that makes any logical sense. And again, it might be because I'm wrong. Moving on. Okay, so we are out of range. So we got a range of right here. So it's cellos mostly on that one. We got the strings big legato. Let's do that one instead. Sounds are gorgeous. I mean, I genuinely like EastWest sounds. That's very convincing to me. Um, that is very convincing to me. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's good. It's a good sound. Sounds great. Short. Oh dear, sorry. Okay, let's go back on the long because we have some pretty cool instances here. We got sustained viola lead. Wonder what this is. And this is where the strength of Orchestrator comes into play. I'm using both my hands. So that's, I mean, I'm sucking at playing this, but makes sense to me. That is kind of a cool getting your ideas out tool. Um, I think this is how I take this tool as a cool, neat little thing that springs ideas that you can get inspiration fast from. Yeah, not very playable like that. It's probably not meant to be played like that. But yeah, that's very interesting. So we got the cello lead right now. The strings make me think of Jurassic Park. Yeah, I can't play that tune. No, don't tempt me because I'm gonna get blasted with copyright claims. Strings, tremolo, unison. Chamber string sustain. So that's a little smaller band. I really don't like their solo libraries. They are. Uh, I, what's a nice way I can put this? They're not very usable. Solo libraries. They're terrible actually. But if you're buying into the Composer Cloud, which I am, for the purposes of having kind of multiple sounds, I mean, to start you out with mock-ups of solo instruments, it's fine. I mean, it'll do the job. But when it's time for you to actually make music for a production that will be distributed and has some sort of um, commercial width, you might wanna start investing into something that is a little more able to produce realistic sounding stuff. And in terms of cello and violins and string especially, my mind goes to Cinestrings, studio, cinematic studio strings, solo strings. My mind goes to Stradivari's, Cremona Quartet, and things like that. So those are the kind of libraries that I would recommend for solo instruments so far. Joshua Bell from Embertone when it comes into violin. So you got some options, and they're not incredibly expensive either. So I mean, there are better options out there than their solo library. And again, these libraries haven't really been updated. Like, they haven't really come up with newer samples. These are recycled samples with some new samples mangled in it. At least that's what they said. So I'm not expecting Opus to take what it was, what Hollywood Strings and the Hollywood series was, and make it new. I'm expecting it to improve the experience that we had on Play, especially, which was the gripe of a lot of people, and make the experience of using those old samples, we're talking 1994, I think, samples, because I remember using these libraries. I remember using Goliath when I first started out. And when I was 16, and this is 14 years ago. Okay, so I mean, the library is old, the samples are old, and we get it. So where did EastWest Opus deliver on? EastWest Opus so far delivered on the interface being nice and fresh and new, nothing earth-shattering, but at least we moved away from the archaic play engine, which is a pain in the backside of most composers. Some composers like it. First off, patches load incredibly fast, which is phenomenal. And thank you, EastWest, for delivering on making loading instruments a breeze now. Some of these instruments are literally 1.3 to 2 gigabytes on RAM, and they load far quicker than an equally heavy patch on Contact sometimes. And I've noticed this especially with strings. And I'm very, very happy about that. So that has been delivered. So EastWest has delivered on that, full marks. The Orchestrator, let's go farther into this Orchestrator thing, because I feel like there's a lot of patches in here. There's a lot of presets that you can go through. I am not going to go through all of them because I just feel like that's going to take forever. Okay, so this is a good Vapensiero here. That's B flat. That's convincing. That works. I mean, it sounds fine. It sounds usable. You can even record with this. You can even produce with this. I don't have a problem with people using these type of patches to actually make mock-ups, because this speeds up your workflow. Because now, instead of recording a clarinet, an oboe, a flute, and a bassoon, you're recording one instrument and they sound fine together. Massive time saver. Is it cheating? I don't think so. I don't think using these kinds of patches is cheating, because think about what you're doing. You're making a mock-up of an orchestral piece. You're making a mock-up for the purpose of showing this, and make it sound as realistic as possible. If this is going to help you in doing that, That's not cheating. Because we all know, because if you really want to learn orchestration, you know that this is a unison between bassoons, flutes, and what did I say before? I mean, my brain's farting. Bassoons, flute, oboe, and clarinets. You know that when you're going into it and actually studying orchestration, and you can reproduce that with other libraries. So let's see, in fact, let's try it out. Why not? Let's try it out. Let's go into the DAW. Let's see how it works, if it works, because maybe it won't work. Maybe we are liars. So I've got a Corninglay here. Why do I have a Corninglay activated? So let's get our first flute on a long. This is from Spitfire Symphonic series. Okay, so we got our flute. Now we need our oboe, which we join with that, and we're already seeing. Okay, so we already have that doubling going on right there. Then let's go back on something that gives a little more body. So we have our clarinet, which pairs very nicely with the flute. And we can pan them a little bit, just to make them sound a little more unique and more detached from each other. And then we have our bassoon, which does the lower side. So because the bassoon does the lower side, we can go into the MIDI modifiers and transpose it an octave. And we have our ensemble. Now let's compare the results. Now, we're going to Orchestrator. So I guess there's a piccolo there that does the higher note. I mean, sure, let's add a piccolo just for fairness sake, just to compare it, what we can achieve. And we can go and do that. Let's see how close we can get to this. That was Spitfire, and now Opus. So in my mind, this is more convincing and it's more practical. You've seen what do I have to do to obtain the same kind of sound, sort of, with having like stacked. Now, do I have more control over the individual instruments? Absolutely. And that's the point where if you're looking to do some divisi work, if you're doing some, some things, then yes, of course, doing your own orchestration instrument by instrument, layer by layer, will make more sense to you. But for moments where maybe all it's required is this. And that's it. Whatever. If you have a cue that it's very simple and it requires something very, very simple, I don't think this is such a bad idea. It saves you time. It sounds convincing. And you have all these samples, all these patches available to you in case you have to make modifications to individual instruments. These are all instruments taken from your Hollywood orchestra patch list. And I think that's Great. That's fine. They mixed it in a way that it makes sense together. Great. I have no gripes with this whatsoever. Am I going to use this on a daily basis? I don't think so, because I do like to orchestrate myself layer by layer. But in a time crunch, when maybe I have like to make a quick edit to a cue and things kind of have to happen very quickly, I can see myself pulling this up and take a unison patch or something or prearranged, and rock with that. I do have this loaded into my template. In fact, I have the Albion arranged longs. Albion comes with these ones, the Spitfire Albion 1. Let's compare that to this. Of course, this has a piccolo in there. Let me maybe get that piccolo out. It's got 3 flutes. Oh, it's a 3 flutes. I guess I could have read from here what the patch list was. So it's got 3 flutes, oboe, 3 clarinets, and 3 bassoon. I mean, it makes sense. But if I want to bring down the flutes, so the oboe does also the high octave as well. Okay, okay. And Albion 1 works fine. I have to say, I like the Opus better. It's more realistic to me. I think it sounds more convincing than the other one. Is the other one usable? Yeah, absolutely, especially when you have to do chords like these. That's beautiful. I think that has a very beautiful property to it. You can't do the same on this because it's a legato, but if I go into the sustains instead of the legato, because I chose the legatos there. Okay, that's a weird range right there. This is flutes and oh, this is legato as well. It says sustains though, bro. Very cool, very cool. Let's look at the brass, just for kicks. So we got brass. I mean, same concept. Same concept applies. Hollywood brass, I like less than Hollywood strings. I think Hollywood strings, they have nailed the recordings and the way they sampled those recordings. They did such a great job the first time around, years and years ago. And it stayed a staple in a lot of ways. I still use Hollywood strings layered underneath, like I said, the other libraries that I mentioned, because they're that good. They sound incredibly well produced. No one can deny that. And whether you like the color and the tone of the strings, that's a whole different pair of jeans. Percussion Tonal. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, this stuff, it's a lot more useless to me. It's like sort of like they had to throw in percussions to make sense of the sample usage, and at least I don't see this as useful. I mean, cool. That's kind of a cool sound. Timpanis and I believe that's, what is it, marimba and harp plucks. So if I play as a legato, why does this camera keep moving around? I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why this keeps on happening. There you go. So if I play a legato, then it won't play the timpani hit. Okay, yeah. I mean, that makes a little more sense. Let's look at the non-tonals. I mean, cool. Not very usable. Again, not very usable because of that Gran Casa hit right there. That's why, because the lowest portion of that multi, the concert, the Ludwig bass drum, like nobody's gonna. I guess there is a way to can justify this, I guess, yeah. It's too in the way. It's too in the way. I personally don't think I would use this. All right, so let's go into the big legato, and this is full ensemble. This is probably gonna take a little longer to load. So this is strings and woodwinds. Okay. Let's look at some big ones. Make it sound like a blast, something from battle music. What's battle music? I've never heard that. Let me move this up here. There we go. Battle music. Oh, you know what? This is showing like old ones as well. This is the new stuff that I was telling you guys. I put this thing right here. I don't know how to to work it really properly, but it's kind of an interesting. I might hide it for now. Let me lock all these. By the way, I was messing around with some new plugins for OBS, and I think I left some of there in the overlay, so I apologize for that. It was too lazy to remove it. All right, so battle music. You mean the percussion ones, right? The big percussion ones. Let's see. So these takes a little longer to load because clearly, you know, they're multi, so it takes a little longer. But oh, I think we crashed. Opus. Oh no. Oh dear. I think Nuendo crashed altogether. Hold on, let me get you on. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I think it crashed Nuendo. All right, so the fact that it crashed Nuendo, that is not good. That is not good. There's not a lot of things that can crash Nuendo. Wow, my tapping was bad. No, your tapping was fine, dude. Some of the drum parts kind of sounded like explosions, as if it was something in a battle. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's the point of those sort of sounds. I think to make it sound like something is like going off, you know. I think, yeah, I think that's very much the point of those kinds of, at least of those kinds of patches. Like the percussions are supposed to like reproduce this kinds of dominant, like powerful, like booms and hits, you know. In that context, I think it makes sense. I'm reopening Nuendo right now, trying to get this thing back and running. So that crashed Nuendo for trying to load a library. Sketchy, I'll tell you. Full on sketch mode activated. All right, so bass. I'm gonna open my Doppler real quick, so we're back to what we were trying to do. Hopefully within the hour. It takes very little for my rig to open Nuendo, especially that particular template, which is like very condensed, very small version of that. All right, so we were here. I'm gonna have to like reactivate all those bells and whistles. All right, so we are back at it. Okay. Where were we? No, that's not a contact one. What am I doing? It's Opus. Of course it is. Orchestrator. So maybe let's try to load that patch again. Hopefully this time it won't crash us. We were trying to load big non-tonal. We're trying to, let's load this one. But see, if I want to use these kinds of sounds, then I will go to the extremely slow loading damage 2 or damage 1. I mean, if you have damage, you have basically all you need when it comes, you know, to make things sound thunders. Damage takes forever to load, by the way, guys, and I'm loading it from 2 M.2s. I don't know why this happens specifically this way. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's been like that forever. So if you want something to sound thunderous and like explosive, check this out. That's kind of cool. I mean, again, this library does it by default. I mean, this is what damage 2 is for. It's for a lot of things, but mean, you do this on damage, and you're basically guaranteed to get some good stuff out of it. So if I ever wanted to use like sounds like they're proposing here, sorry, this one. First off, it's slow, it's sloppy. I mean, cool. Thanks for putting it in, I guess. There's a gong there. There's a gong symbol, so it makes it sound like it's like a long shot. They advertise this as percussion long hits. You know, fine. I mean, I can get behind that. Now let's get into what really is cool about this library, because again, there's pros and cons. The ostinato patches are okay. They're fine. I don't like them, but they're usable. They can be justified. So these are like, you know, very repetitive sort of ostinato patterns. You have the let's go to the quarter notes. That's probably a little more makes a little more sense. I mean, cool. Some of them are better than others. Right, so if you're looking for some really quick really quick inspiration and trying to get that idea out of you, you're more likely to find it with something like this. I mean, this is, as far as usability, this is pretty darn cool. It is usable. It's fine. You're going through these patches instead of going through individual instruments to figure out what your idea sounds like. And of course, as you get good enough at composing, as you get good enough at orchestrating, you already know instantaneously or at least quickly, how to realize that idea that you have in mind. But for the people that are starting out to figuring out how orchestration works, how instruments should interact with each other, this is fine. This is great. This is a great idea, actually. I'm not opposed. I would be worried if a seasoned composer would use this instead of actually doing the mock-up of the orchestration himself or herself. But then again, they wouldn't probably use this. I mean, cool stuff. Let's look at the accented one. And 3/4 is just like the 3/4 pattern for these. Cool. So there's a horn leading here. I think it's this one. No, it's not. It's not that one. Is it the trombone? Yes, it is. It's trombone. It's powerful. It's there. It's prominent. I mean, let's go into the eighth notes because I think the eighth notes are cool. Let's go into the accented version of them. This is more modern. This is more like the sort of patterns you find today in around. And then from that, you would evolve to a 16th pattern, probably, if you want to follow sort of that line. If you're composing, you know, if you're putting an idea together. Of course, I don't have now. See the consistency here; it's a little messed up. I wish they kept the consistency of the horns being on the same patch, so I could, you know, glue the two things together. Oh, this is a tapata 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 tapata. Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. This sounds amazing. This sounds cool. This sounds pretty epic, honestly. As a chase scenes, as a sort of action-y moment, like put two hands together to make something like this. I mean, you have a cue ready in no time. It works. It's instantaneous. It's it makes sense. I guess that's the word I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to say it makes sense to me, like playing like this. When the idea comes in. Now that I have recorded my idea, now I go into the instruments. I get newer samples. I get the articulations the way I want. And I orchestrate this idea right here, in a way that it's my own and unique, and it's not like something that you go and look at that movie that you just made, and all the composers like, that's Hollywood Orchestrator. We have that, you know? So you want your voice to be unique and stand out. So this is just as an idea starter. This tool, to me, is worth as an idea starter. I mean, it's cool. It's cool. It sounds great. The samples sound very good. Um, let's move into the scores portion of this, because I feel like there's a lot to say here. We got the Dark Hero. Ooh. So these are more like specific, sort of catered and curated for a specific kind of mood, and these are named accordingly, I think. I don't understand that one, honestly. I don't like it, I think. the most the most cop-out chord progression ever. Cool idea. I genuinely don't like that orchestration and that ensemble. It's just a taste here. I mean, cool. Black Knight. You know that they had to toss in some Dark Knight, Hans Zimmer Dark Knight in here. Cool. Usable? I don't know. I'll give you that. It's responsive. It's responsive. It's natural. It's organic. It really it responds well to my weird, unrefined changes of chords. It reads me well. I think there's something to be said about the engine that goes on behind this. Is actually pretty remarkable, and definitely not unheard of. Definitely not earth-shattering, but definitely remarkable. This is some great latching features or something like that. I don't know, but it's great. It works really well. Yeah, it moves into into chords that make sense for that for that chord that you're moving to. So it's not like giving you like the root chords, some weird combinations of notes. It gives you a very natural, organic. See? I think it's well done. I think the engine behind this is really, really well constructed. Yeah. I have nothing against that. Elwyn Wood. Let's just go a little quicker here, because Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. This is actually really nice. This is actually really, really nice. Let me see if I can. Can I put a cool reverb on this? What reverbs do we have? Algoverb, convolution reverb. Holy crap. There's so many of them. Bright plate. No, I don't want a plate necessarily. LA scoring stage. I think these are taken from Spaces. Yeah, the Burbank scoring. I think so. I think. In fact, let me try to the Algoverb probably. You know what? When in doubt, you gotta black hole it. When in doubt, just black hole it. Yes, it follows my ideas. It follows my ideas very well. The chords do exactly what I want them to do. That is very good. That is very, very good. Where are you going, dude? Where are you going? Come back here. So I want to try something. Some sort of like almost like an Ave Maria situation here, and I am going to put one of the best vocal legatos on the market at the moment on this. I kind of want to play around with it and see how usable this is, just to have it in context. Of course, I'm talking about the Ether Gold. Claudia Sorace is absolutely phenomenal in this plugin. And so I'm gonna do a more lyrical U. And of course here again, when in doubt, you just black hole the absolute living life out of it. Let's put her on a very lush situation here. Let's see how it works. Just to have a cool mess around session. Of course, I'm improvising on top of this, which is probably not a good idea, but I mean that's how you find out cool stuff. So, here's the problem with this. This right here has filled up so much of the orchestration gap that you need for a piece of music. So it's basically what I'm trying to say is it's too complete to be able to be usable with other instruments around it. I mean, there is other things that you can do about this. For instance, I could put a choir underneath it and doing sort of like the same chords and the same movements, and it would work really well. So it comes down to really orchestration choices. But it fills up really quickly the spectrum of arrangement that you want. And I think it's done on purpose because, again, that's why this works so well as a idea tool, idea sparking tool, or idea noting tool. Once you put that down, I know that I sort of want that kind of mood. Then when I'm going to go ahead and orchestrate this piece right here, I know exactly what I can do. I'm hearing it. It's not just in my head anymore. I'm actually hearing it. Okay, so I hear strings, there's violas, second violins and violins doing the body underneath. I got on harp doing some sort of arpeggio, which I can switch for other instruments. I got some woodwinds on top. I got flutes. They are giving me this, very nice ethereal sound. And are delineating the melody line, the top line. So I would use this as like I said 1,000 times in this dream. I'm repeating myself, but I think it's because that's really what I think this is meant to be. And also, I mean, I'm sure they meant to be they meant it as a quick cue writing tool. Like just and they market it that way too. By the way, obtain the Hollywood sound in seconds. Which is a marketing ploy, and you know, it's just marketing, you know, really. But what this is actually for, in terms of who would use this, are the people that want to put down an idea really quickly, and then later remove that track and build the actual mock-up. Yeah, so I've said that a million times, so I'm going to shut up about it now. It's called Family Adventure Hollywood Action. Okay, so I'm expecting things from this one. Let's see what happens. Oh, that solo violin is so loud. So this is action. Yeah. Hollywood Adventure. Whatever that means. I don't know how to categorize this, but I feel like Hollywood Adventure. I have a suspicion. I don't know if it's a very nice thing to say, but I feel like the people that wrote these are sort of stuck in Hollywood 20 years ago. It's such a mean thing to say. I'm sorry to the people that are behind this, but I feel like I can picture Home Alone right now, listening to this. Not necessarily what the Home Alone score was, but like the time period. I'm picturing the 90s right now. I grew up with I grew up in the 90s. I grew up looking at the film in the 90s, and this awfully reminds me of. And by the way, I'm stuck in the 90s too. I'm the way I use my chord progressions. It's not very modern. It's not very fresh and juicy, like, you know. But I feel there's a heavy component of like the way they name these and the way they sound. There's like someone somewhere is stuck in the 20s, and it's probably a very harsh thing to say, but like, or maybe I am the one stuck in the 90s that hears this and thinks about, you know, movies in the 90s. Maybe it is me. I'm sure it is. Like, the reason why I say that is because I don't hear composers today writing like this anymore. Not because they don't know how to. It's because it's just the way movies are made nowadays. I think that they don't sound like this anymore. I think, I don't know. Maybe, and again, I may completely be wrong. I am not the expert on anything. I'm just listening to this, and as a consumer, I'm giving my unsolicited opinion on this. So this is Fanfare, which is again very John Williamsy. I mean, the John Williams is strong with this one. Let's just put it this way. And it's not a bad thing, by the way. I mean, John Williams we're talking about. What is that? That's cool. Oh, it's the harp. No, it's not. It's the harmonics of the harp. Yes, it is. It's the harmonics of the harp. That's cool. They're cool. They're cool idea building tools. They really are. They really are. Am I gonna get copyright stricken here? I'm using a lot of the same chords. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying to keep it very consistent so you can hear the difference and the contrast of like how these patterns really work together. Very cool. Military. It doesn't sound very military to me, but okay. Family comedy. Okay, this is cool. I like that one. I think this is very appropriate, although very similar to the previous one. Hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. I feel like it was playing the same thing over and over. Am I being an idiot right now and playing the same thing? Also, let me get rid of that because I feel like that's messing up with my CCs. Where were we? Oh, I was adding to it, so it wasn't. Something happened and it was adding to it. Okay, well then let's go back to Infinity. I feel like I didn't look at this one. Is there a way for me to load this one? Okay. Okay, so it's changing. Okay. Okay, let's go to military now. Oh, I was pressing these ones. I think that's the problem. Oh, I'm a dork. I judged unjustly. I apologize. This is the military. Okay, now we're talking. This sounds military enough to me. It's pretty cool. I can get behind that. See, these are things that like you learn to sort of like orchestrate by yourself. You know, you need some pizzicatos, you need some bassoons and oboe and clarinet staccatos together to make that like that cool little moment there. You know, you get your you get your clarinets, you get your bassoon staccatissimo. So I mean, it's kind of an interesting sound, very very iconic sound. Okay, this is supposed to be happy. I think it's family comedy. Yeah. I mean, it does the job. String motions. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. Basic string patterns here. Superhero. Not a fan of the last one, really. Oh, I thought it was almost like crashing Nuendo again. I mean, yeah, I have a very, very similar reaction to all of these. I know I'm just showcasing to you guys the different sounds of this because I feel like, you know, for those of you that don't have Opus and are thinking about buying it, hearing this, you know, maybe a yay or nay sort of thing. But I'm having a very neutral reaction to these because I understand the concept behind it, and I am not like, whoa, I'm gonna use this on every track from now on. You know, I'm just like, meh, cool, sound awesome. Sounds awesome, but it's ultimately not very usable for my workflow, the way I work. The ones that have the horns leading or some sort of instrument leading are a lot more interesting to play around with because you can actually create a harmony and a melody at the same time. So that's kind of interesting to me. That's a little more interesting. You can note down your ideas with a little more ease there because you have that leading instruments that it's allowing you to play the melody on top. So that's interesting. So I wish all those tracks had some form or another of leading instrument, and they probably do because we're only doing the number one of every section here. So it's probably very unfair that I'm saying this, but alas. Cool. This was Monumental, and then we got Rival. Sorry, I'm scratching in my mic. Rival Tribes. Let's see. interesting patterns, interesting rhythms. The orchestration is well mixed. I mean, it's for people that are trying to get ideas. Again, for the thousandth time, for people that are trying to get ideas, this is a great tool. But that's all it is. This is a really cool, neat pattern, honestly. I like that a lot. And I love the fact that, like, I hear these kinds of things and it pushes me to do things that I've never tried before. You know, if I hear this, I hear the violas going dun 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 dun, but then the celli's underneath and dun 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 dun. So it's kind of an interesting pattern. I've never tried that before. Usually, the way I do ostinato is that I do the highest instruments do the quickest patterns, the faster patterns, while the lower instruments do the more like wide and slow patterns. But this is pushing me now to do something completely different. You have the cello going like dun 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 dun, like going bananas on those ostinatos on their 16th note. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Okay, so well, that was the scores. That was Hollywood Orchestrator. I am not gonna go into making my own things because, like I said, it is never going to be the way I use this instrument. I am not gonna use this if I'm gonna use it at all. I am not gonna use it for making my own patterns and all of a sudden I have this usable thing. I just overall, guys, I have to say I am underwhelmed by the efforts that EastWest have put into this libraries. I am sure, and by that I say, let me clarify. By that I say, I'm sure they worked really hard on this. I'm sure the programmers and scripters have spent countless hours on preparing this, perfecting it, polishing all the bugs. I've read online a bunch of people that have crazy bugs with this. I've had no bugs whatsoever, with the only exception that it crashed. It just crashed my Nuendos. You've seen it. It crashed my Nuendos. That was the only time this plugin has given me issues in this 9 hours that I got it, or is it 9, 7 hours, whatever. The plugin has been solid, no bugs that I can see, but there are some major drawbacks, and these major drawbacks, really make me want to not use the library. First and foremost, the freaking CC1 dynamic. Why would you remove that, EastWest? That is such an absolute nonsense to pull. Absolute nonsense to me. And if I were to go on to the actual Sound Online's, and I wanted to get the Orchestrator, and I didn't have Composer Cloud. Say I didn't have Composer Cloud, and I wanted to get Hollywood Orchestrator. Where would I go? First off, where do I go? It's nowhere your main page here. It's nowhere near your main page. Why is it not on your main page? It just came out, my dude. I only see the Composer Cloud, which is your basically your money funneling device, which makes people pay you monthly for instruments that that they could buy, which is cool and all for people starting out, and it's cheap. I buy into it, so it's I'm talking down on myself right now. Even I'm doing as I'm doing this. But you know, the truth is that unfortunately, subscription-based sample libraries, it is a marketing ploy to suck money off of you. It is just what it is. There is no other need to get that done. But if I wanted to do this, let's go to classical orchestra. No, there it's not there. Let's see. So it's not apparent where this new instrument is. Hollywood. Search Hollywood. Hollywood Orchestra. Backup pop brass. There is no Hollywood Orchestrator on your page. So there is no way for me to buy this product outside Composer Cloud, which may actually be its saving grace. All right, so we went to the home page. There it is. Okay, so I guess I wasn't on the home page. That was the problem. It looks like that was the problem, but I'm zoomed in. Okay. So we got the Hollywood Opus thing, fantastic. We got the strings, we got all the things, all them things. Yeah. Okay, there it is. Hollywood Orchestrator. Okay, so if I wanted to buy Hollywood Orchestrator, which is right here. Okay, so I'm clicking on this. Cool. What is this? What is this? This is am I missing something? Is this supposed to be part? I don't even know if this is supposed to be part of. So even in the more expensive version, which they have right here, there is no CC1. So it's not just the fact that like, oh, you're buying it with you gotta upgrade to have your CC option. No, that's not the case. Cool. Very cool. Okay, Orchestrator. So you get your you do your patterns with this. Cool. Not, I mean, you construct your patterns. Awesome. I mean, phenomenal. I think that's a great thing. See, this is great. I mean, you got your piano roll and the voices thing, you know, cool. But by the time I'm done with this, EastWest, I am doing it into the DAW with single patches, and I don't have to do this. I'm creating the piece as I go. By the time I'm done with this MIDI editing and piano roll editing and exporting into, I might as well do it in the DAW with the instruments that I already have. So yes, I get the idea behind this, and I think it's a great idea. So you're charging Nah, this is yearly fee. That's fine. That's okay. That's a regular. So if I were to buy this guy, you're telling me. Okay, so you're buying the libraries that come with. So you're not buying just the engine. Okay. Okay, 130 gigs of brand new recordings. Total size is now a terabyte. So it's a terabyte, and I am paying 600. So I'm paying $700 for a terabyte of new and old samples. So I'm buying 130 gigs of new samples that you just brought to the table with a total of a terabyte. So you do the math from there, which doesn't really matter because the sounds are fine. The sounds are great. They sound fantastic, and I don't have no gripes whatsoever with the samples and the way EastWest samples instruments because they sampled them very well. They sampled them extremely well. They're incredible at sampling instruments. That has never been a problem. And the price for what you're getting, which is Hollywood strings, brass, percussions, and woodwinds, and solo cello and solo violin, that is actually a pretty acceptable price. That is an acceptable price. I have nothing to say about that price. The price is fine. The Diamond Edition, of course, the Diamond Edition it's only $100 more, and you get a lot more mic positions. Well, 4 mic positions, but you get a lot more samples. It's a lot heavier. This makes perfect sense. I think Spitfire should learn a thing or two about this pricing method. This is honest pricing method. You're paying $800 for the complete Hollywood orchestra bundle, which by the way I purchased for $500, $600, something like that. Back in the days, I got the actual Hollywood orchestra bundle, and it was about the same price. And you're getting the orchestrator. You're getting 130 gigs of new samples. This is great pricing. This is not even close to the nonsense the Spitfire charges for their stuff. Granted, Spitfire's samples are new, recorded in a great studio. They're great. Nothing to say about the quality of the product itself, but the way pricing between Diamond Edition with multiple mic positions and the Gold Edition with one mic position, I mean, it says a lot. This is $100 more. That's it. If we are going to Spitfire Audio, the situation changes. The situation changes between the symphonic core, which has one mic position, and I think the articulations are the same. Maybe, and I may be wrong about this. I haven't looked into it too much because I'm not really interested in BBCSO, but I'm pretty sure the articulations are the same. So for one mic position, you pay $450, which is about the same price of an Albion 1 or whatever. But if you are to buy into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mic positions, you are doubling that price. You're doubling the price. For what exactly? Mic positions. And there may be actual other instrument. I'm sure there are some other instruments that are not in the core edition, and I'm sure that there are articulations that are not in the core edition. I get that. I get it. I'm sure there is an explanation for this. I'm pretty sure. There it is. Compare. Let's look at it. Okay, there we go. So in the core edition, you get 44 instruments. In the professional, you get 57. All right. Okay. Number of techniques, 344, 468. That might be due to the fact that you have more instruments. Not necessarily that you have more techniques, but maybe that's not how they counted this. Round robins up to 8. Same round robins, which is fine. It doesn't matter. Signals 1 to 20. I think this is the mic positions. I might be wrong, but signals, I think it's mic positions. Let's see. Yes, microphone positions. Signal. Why signal? I don't know. Might just write mic positions. Dynamic layers. Up to 3. So you got 3 dynamic layer. Blah blah blah. Legatos. Solo. Leaders. Okay, so you get the solos. Okay, well that's fine. Okay, I'll take that back. That makes sense because the solos are hard to sample, and they usually have their own library. So I mean, yeah. Makes sense. Techniques editor, cool. 27 gigs, 728 gigs. I mean, okay, so doubling the price, it may be something that it actually makes sense in this particular case. But in the case of that, I know for a fact that they have the professional. These kinds of professional stuff. Let me see. Do they have a comparison chart for these ones? Because I'd be really tempted to think that they don't. But maybe they do. And I would love to see the differences because, I mean, I'm learning stuff as I go. And I feel like all you're paying for the professional, so the professional studio strings is $500. If I were to buy the professional, let me see, Spitfire. Am I not typing this right? Oh, the Spitfire Studio string. Sorry, my bad. Spitfire Studio. Okay, studio strings. The normal studio strings is 250, and the professional is 500. So it's twice as much, right? We double the price. That's the sort of like the way they do pricing. They double the price for the professional thing, which is fine. And I'm just trying to make sense of this, okay? I'm just trying to make sense, to figure out sort of like the patterns. I mean, again, I'm not trying to crap on Spitfire here. I'm just saying I think the way they are doing it here makes more sense than the way Spitfire or other sample libraries. So I'm giving a point to EastWest here on this. Is there a way to compare the two? What am I missing other than mic positions? Okay, other than mic positions, what am I missing from? Oh, there it is. What's the difference between studio strings and studio string professional? The core version of studio features a standard 8666 for player setup with access to default tree mic position. With professional, you have access to 7 extra unique mic positions. Okay, so mic positions, a large band section, 1612. Okay. So it looks like from what I'm reading here that the way Spitfire prices the professional versus the core actually does make a lot of sense. So on that, I take it back, saying that Spitfire should learn a thing or two from EastWest, because Spitfire is doing it right. I think that makes the pricing makes perfect sense. Well, you live and learn. In the case of this, I think this makes extremely good sense. Just because you are buying 100, this is a deal, to be honest. This is a real deal, and this is an introduction offer. We're jumping up to $1,000 for the actual Diamond Edition. If you want to go to Gold Edition, it's $895, so it's $200 less. Well, no, it's still $100 because it's $900, $895. I think that's what it is. Yes, $895. Yeah, that's right. So it's $100. The difference between the diamond and the gold, which, to be honest, it's a steal because the Diamond Edition gets you cool mic positions, and I think that's about all they give. So making it $100 more makes sense. They're not giving you anything more than that. If they were giving you like different instruments and different patches and different articulations, then I would be like, EastWest, you're probably undercharging for this because you're giving away instruments, and yeah, so it makes sense. They don't have to learn anything from me, but cool. So you can buy it separately, and you are buying. So the price to me is justified because you're buying into the entire sample pool of Hollywood Orchestra, plus the solo and the harp, I think. So you're buying into all these instruments. So then if I wanted to buy, say, and then I promise, guys, I'll leave it alone. But if I wanted to buy, then just the Opus without the Orchestrator, which I'm pretty sure I can, right? Indeed, I can. Oh, so it comes with. Okay, never mind. Yeah, of course, it comes with it. Okay, so if you want to buy the Opus edition, which includes apparently includes the Orchestrator. So thank God they didn't make the Orchestrator be a separate thing. Actually, that now that I think about it, that makes a lot of sense. Well, there you go, guys. There you have it. Great tool for getting ideas out. I've said this a million times over the stream. I feel like I'm stretching this out further than it should be, so I apologize for that. But um, I'm thinking through things as I see it because I haven't really done research before, so I'm learning as I go. Um, would I recommend this to starting out people? Yes, with a subscription. Would I recommend this to people that are like advanced in their compositional career or they're in the middle of the road? Why would you buy this? If you're up there, you already know how to, supposedly, you already know how to orchestrate your mock-up. So I have a reservation of why somebody would pay $1,000 for for samples. They sound great, but they have all these drawbacks that we talked about. At least in my opinion. If I were now with the 2020 hindsight, I would not have bought the Hollywood Orchestra bundle, the diamond one, and I would not have spent almost $700 to buy that because I could have done the Composer Cloud, and whenever I needed it, I could renew my subscription, use it, render it in audio, and have it in my composition if I ever needed it, and then cancel my subscription for the foreseeable future. I mean, that's an option that you have. Just don't see the point in spending 1,000. I don't see how you can market old samples, although you have 130 gigs of new samples materials that you added on top of the already 900, whatever, and 800, whatever. Um, this is too of an old product to be marketed at $1,000, in my opinion. The UI and the little small new sample pool does not justify $1,000 in my eyes. You're not selling the BBC orchestra from Spitfire. You're not selling Albion, the Albion bundle. You're not selling the Cineperk, which is new stuff, relatively. Now Cineperk is kind of starting to get old as well. You're not selling all these other libraries, which, by the way, the newest ones don't cost as much. All I'm trying to say is, if you're thinking about to buy this, consider this. Would you rather spend $1,000 on new samples with new engines, with new legato techniques that sound great, generally? Or would you rather spend $1,000 on something that sounds good because EastWest stuff sounds good, most of it, but it's old. It's old stuff rebranded. That's what this is. It's old stuff rebranded, and I think people. I don't know what's going on with EastWest, and they refuse to make new samples. I don't know why they're, and I think actually I know why they're refusing to do, because it's the subscription thing. Why would they do that? They have free money coming in. They are not working for their money. Now they made this. I mean, cool. After how many years that they haven't made substantial libraries? They made pop back. What is that? The back singers, like back vocal singers, whatever. They haven't made an actual new, completely revamped new set of samples, completely brand new libraries with brand new technology. Like, they haven't made such a thing yet. And they rebranded old stuff. They put some new stuff mangled with it. Made a pretty nice looking modern UI and call it a day. And it's great. Sounds fine. Like I said many times, I feel like I'm rambling at the moment because I am rambling at the moment. I'm ranting about how you can you can justify $1,000 for 900 and for 800 plus gigabytes of old samples that people already owns, by the way. To be honest, I didn't pay for this. This is not paid. I went on the EastWest thing, loader download thing, and downloaded it, and it worked just fine. And that's fine. It's not at a cost. If you were to buy it brand new, that would be $1,000. I don't know why you would price it at $1,000 when you can have it in the Composer Cloud, and it's old stuff. Like to me, this product should be half the price. Slashed it completely half the price because no one is going to buy a rebranded Pool. I mean, no, and I should say no one carefully, because I'm sure there are some people that maybe like this concept so much and they like the sound so much and they're married to the brand or whatever, you know. I'm sure people are going to buy it. I'm sure EastWest is going to make I hope they're going to make back, the expenses, paying developers and paying people salary to make this thing happen. I genuinely hope for their financial success. I want to see EastWest succeed because EastWest, it's where it all started. The sampling, the advanced deep sampling things, like really, it's where it all started. And I love EastWest because I started with EastWest. It was my first set of libraries, Goliath, which back in the days was called Colossus. I owned Colossus, and on my old Cubase version 3, CS3 or something, CX3 or something. Can't remember exactly the name. That was my That was it. That was my library. I had that, and I had Raw when it was on Contact. I love that stuff. That's the meat and potato of how I started out, fiddling around on the keyboard and figuring out what the heck this thing is, where the hell do I fit in musically? It was the awakening of my musical career. It really was. But it's been years that they haven't made a brand new library, a brand new concept, a brand new something. Backup vocalists is not a brand new concept. It's a library that just, by the way, it's not even that usable. Like I don't know how to use it well enough, and that's on me. That's on me. I just think that that's really not something that people are gonna use that often, and that unless you are in like the jazz or pop sort of stuff, I'm sure you use. But I want to see Swiss making something new, something fresh. Make a chamber orchestra set. Make a smaller choir. EastWest so good at making choirs. Make something that makes sense. Expand the raw and silk and gypsy content with brand new samples, brand new instruments. We're very limited in the amount of instruments we have on raw and silk and gypsy, and expand on voices of the Empire with actual legato, true legato. Expand on and make actual usable legato, like legato that can be utilized. I'm just looking here, for instance, like, I'm looking at the, what is it called? The voice of opera. Let's make some real true operistic legato. Make a Gregorian chant choir library that just brings the house down, because you guys are so good at making choirs. On the raw thing, we have got Africa, Americas, Europe, Far East, India, and Middle East. The Middle East has 3 bowed instrument, 1 percussion. Are you kidding me? 1 percussion for the Middle East. The Middle East is known to have, like, look at this. Look at this. I'm not making this up. I am not making this up. Even native instruments beat you to it. Granted, years later, but what is this? You know, what is this? That's super wet. Like, these are all different instruments that don't exist in your library. This is the stuff that people want, I think, from EastWest. New stuff. New content. Not rebranded old stuff that, yes, is good. But it's good. It's fine. It's good. Just leave it alone. It's good. People love it. I love it. I love Hollywood strings and brass. Hollywood woodwinds is like, eh. Hollywood percussion is, don't care for it. Hollywood brass and Hollywood strings are 2 of the best ever string and brass libraries sampled up until probably, I want to say, 8 years ago. Some of the best on the market that you could actually use in commercial ways. And they would sound great. But I feel like we got lazy, EastWest. We got lazy after a while. We got this Composer Cloud. I still remember the day somebody brought it up to me. It was like, yeah, they're making this Composer Cloud. Like, you were the first one to do a prescription-based situation. And I feel like that got you a little lazy. I don't want that to be the case, because we want new I want the raw library to contain 11 percussion libraries. And I want the freaking Silk Road here, the China. This is it. India, this is it. Persian, this is it. We need, like, this is not all the instruments that you have in Persia that I'm sure that you can think of. You know, and I mean, I'm being very pedantic about now specific type of things, but this doesn't have to be that at all. Let's archive. I think. Hey, what's up? Let's archive this idea that we need to rebrand old stuff. And people need new things, modern things that they can actually work with. That's really what I'm ranting about. It's the idea that let's move forward instead of trying to rehash stuff from the past, which is it's boring, and it's I mean, fine, you know, you can have it if you want to, and I have it. The sounds are fine, they're great. I don't particularly care too much for the actual instrumentation, but I think there is a place for this. There is a place for EastWest Hollywood Opus Edition. I think there is a place for this. But EastWest, the $1,000 for old stuff, in my opinion, it's a little bit offensive. It's like polishing a turd. And it's not a turd, because it's not. It sounds great, but it's too much. It's not fair. The price ratio was I was appreciating earlier the price ratio between the diamond version and the gold version, which makes perfect sense in terms of $100 more. But $1,000 for old, for basically 75% of that sample pool is old stuff. Not only it's old stuff, it's 20 years old stuff. Something like that. I might be off a few years, but essentially, here I'm gonna be like conservative and say it's 10 years old stuff. Even if it was 5 years old stuff, that's the problem that I have with this. Why do you rebrand stuff that it's 5 years old? It's 5 years old. Move on. Let's make something newer, cooler, better engine. You please use this money that you get from the Composer Cloud every single month. Use this milking cow, this money cow. Use it for better things. So my hope is that in the next 3 to 5 years, we will see some crazy groundbreaking library coming from EastWest. That's my hope. That genuinely is my hope, because my wallet will be open instantaneously for such event. I would buy it instantly because I love EastWest. I love the libraries they do. I love the company. I love, although the shady tactics that have happened lately have been a little sort of misleading and all that. Can you justify buying Opus by itself? No, I don't think so. If you get it with the Composer Cloud, yeah, it will take you a while to cover that cost. So, I mean, it makes sense. I think it makes perfect sense. If you're into that, if you like the Orchestrator features, if you like the sort of stuff, yeah, go right. I think that's a good idea altogether. It's good sounds. But buying it by itself, no. Anyway, I feel like I've repeated myself 20 times tonight, but I think that I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. I am super tired, and I hope this has given you some sort of insight, unsolicited insight on this, because you probably don't give an absolute flying F about my opinion on this, which is totally fine. If you made it this far into the video, congratulations. Your brain is officially melted by the BS that I spout out today. All of this, guys, is my opinion. It's my personal opinion. I've definitely said wrong things in this video. I've definitely said right things in this video. Don't take what I say at face value. Do your own research. Listen to things. Try them out. Make your own opinion, because ultimately what works for me, it may not work for you, and what works for you may very well not work for me. And so I want to make sure that people are happy with those spectrums. My goal is not to upset anybody. My goal is not to crap on anybody, because there's nobody to crap on. All the companies that I mentioned today are top of the line companies that make top of the line products that I buy and I love and I use commercially. I make money with this stuff that I talked about today, and the comments and critiques that I have about this stuff. This stuff that I buy, that I love, and that's why I buy. Anyway, you guys have a good night. I'm most certainly going to have a good night after I got this stuff off my chest. And I hope you guys will make a good decision when it comes to, buying Opus. According to whatever you need. Anyway, for the time being, you guys have a good night. We'll see you the next one. My name is Lorenzo.emanuel. Catch you later.